All right, are we ready? We got 3 likes already. I don't even have to do anything. You guys are the best. 3 likes. I mean, that's more than a man could ask for. Hopefully, the audio is crisp, clear. Looks like all systems go on my end. Just let me know if that isn't the case. We're flying blind here. We got nobody else. It's just me. It's a one-man band. Just waiting for that first comment to tell me they can hear what I'm saying. It's not a good sign. No comment yet. Anybody out there? Just go ahead. Oh, Grasp says hello. Audio might be okay. Leaf blower, are you leaving? We should be good. I think we're good. I'm just a little nervous. Very crispy. Okay, thank you. Barris and numerous. Okay, perfect. Yeah, no leaf blower today. I think because it's starting to get more fall-y, but you'd think there'd be a leaf. That's when you use a leaf blower, right? Maybe they did it yesterday. I don't know. Kind of an odd week. You know, we have just a bunch of all over the place information, you know. Which, if we're gonna have it, this is probably the time to have it. Just trying to pull up the economic calendar. We had, what did we have today? Like ADP numbers or something. So we had employment numbers that were slightly softer than expected. We kind of have to figure out, is this good news or bad news? And then from there, how will the market take it as good news or bad news? I guess if you think this is bad news, then that would mean the Fed would cut sooner. But I don't necessarily know that that was necessarily bad. It's all so dumb. It's just so dumb that we're like going from data point to data point every week. The big one though is unemployment on Friday. I guess this was the data point today. My bad. Today's Thursday. The jobless claims. Either way, these are like, you know, middle of the road. Nothing super out of the norm. But if bad news is bad news again, and the unemployment numbers come in hot, then I guess markets turn down. I don't know. I don't even know anymore. There was like consumer spending numbers. Yeah, that came in soft, even though that was the forecast. And I think that's been the focus for a lot of people this week. I've just seen a lot of charts on that talking about how the consumer's weak or they're tapped out. You know, again, the same stuff I hear every week. The people don't have savings, they can't spend, blah, 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 right? And that's hurting all the retailers who are basically at 52-week lows, along with the shrinkage problem. But tomorrow, this is definitely the number to watch for. In general, though, I think collectively, it's hard to have like solid footing on anything based on the data. Just trying to find the screen again. Where did I put it? It's hard to have a solid footing because this isn't exactly, you know, this is not a natural move. You know, we don't normally see 12 weeks of anything going in a straight line, 45-degree angle. So we're dealing with that. We're dealing with bond yields, whether or not we'll actually go to a recession. I think the yield spreads chart is probably the most important thing, because we've gone from everybody saying that they're certain there's going to be a soft landing. This is the 10-year minus the 2-year, by the way. So if we back up pre-soft landing, like end of 2022, everybody was talking about, you know, the sky is falling, the yield curve inversion, blah, 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 right? And it's almost always led to a recession. But it's not the inversion that kills you. It's the uninversion. You know, it's not falling from 33,000 feet that kills you. It's the ground. The ground kills you. Okay. So we are uninverting now, and that's a problem. You've probably heard people call this a bear steepener, which means the longer end of the curve is rising, which is what we're seeing. So I think this is the most important thing, because as a crypto trader or watcher or whatever you are in the chat, including me, like, we have to dodge a depression, recession. I'm kind of worried about the election as well, but that's months from now, you know. But like, what if we go into a recession pre-election? Do we get stimmies? Do we get relief of some kind? You know, I don't know, right? Just something to think about. And like, net, is that going to be bullish or bearish for everything? Because I'm just thinking about, like, you know, do I load the boat on a long based on the weekly cloud, or do we have to wait and dodge this nonsense? Are there going to be some banks that explode? There was a bank. Sorry, you probably can't see that because of my face. The yield inversion. There was a bank, BRBS, that people were talking on, Blue Ridge Bank Shares. It's in Virginia, I think. We'll take a look at it, but you know, the banks aren't doing so hot right now either. BOA, Citigroup, all them, they are not doing well. More businesses seem to be doing less well than well. And just as a side anecdotal data point, I've seen a ton of craft breweries start to close. I would love to see depression, like the depression lines with craft breweries, because I feel like there's got to be some correlation there. Let me read chat for a second. Fellow Michigander here. What up, Keith? Sure do appreciate the instructional videos. You're welcome. Yeah, the thing about fibs, again, like, look, my background is science. I know it's all voodoo nonsense, as Joey says in the comments, but it works, man. It works. Let me pull up a different DXY chart. So look, the DXY, you know, you kind of have to have an opinion about this stuff, because we're not disconnected entirely from the rest of the world. It's odd that we haven't pulled back sooner. I'll say that. The TA may win at the end of the day, where the DXY does pull back or start to pull back. I don't know what would have to happen to the economy for a pullback to actually happen. I guess the assumption is the Fed's going to weaken sooner if there's not depression, but if there's a recession, you know, if there's economic issues. I don't know. I don't know if this is just TA, expectations of the economy, or whatever the unnatural cause of the rise is gone now. Like, I don't know. But it hit a basically yearly high, pulled back. There's still, you know, the TKC clamp, like all the basic TA stuff still applies. It would make sense for this to pull back. It would make sense for this to mean revert. It's not saying like it's over, but if this does mean revert, I would expect crypto to have a little bit of a push higher. I don't know what's going on with ETH, but with Bitcoin specifically, I'd expect a little bit of a push higher, because we've actually not been crushed. You know, we haven't had 12 weeks of down on Bitcoin, which is a miracle somehow. It does sound like an Odd Lots episode paperclip. I should try to like legit find that data, because I'm sure it exists. I've seen charts previously, like when the end of the last ZERP cycle, I saw a bunch of craft brewery charts pop up, like, you know, because you couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting 3 of them. But anyway, so DXY looks bearish. It looks like it wants to pull back, right? The problem is I just don't know what caused the rise necessarily for the past 12 weeks. So I don't know. If I was just following TA though, I would expect this to weaken. You can already kind of start to see, let me find a chart I actually can write on. Anybody else have this problem where they have like their specific like sandbox in their trading view. Maybe it's just me. Where it's like, I don't want to mess up my annotations. All right, here we go. If you go to lower time frames on this, I mean, you probably know what I'm going to say. Because it clearly happened on oil. You know, it looks like this could happen. Oil actually broke down way before I thought it would. And I think that's demand related, but I'm not sure. It broke down extremely hard. I know so many people were so bullish on oil and energy basically at the top, right? Just like people were bullish on the Qs or whatever, NASDAQ, S&P at the top. So this is what I watch for the dollar. Now if we go to oil, that here's from the video where I was talking about what to watch for. And we hit the target, right? So, you know, at this point, if I was actually trading this, which I didn't get a short on this because I was waiting for the third hump, right? I was waiting for the shoulder. We hit the target though, based on fibs, right? And just a great example, I think just using fibs yourself over and over and over again, you either come to find that they work or they're complete garbage, but my guess is they're gonna be pretty useful for you. That's why I like to talk about them, but anyway. The measured move in the 1618 we've hit. So for me, this trade is done in the moment. Now we can go to like the daily cloud. If I can find that on my, sorry if that's, my head's blocking that. No, it looks like it was good. If we go to the daily cloud, you know, or even we blew past the support there. So I think this whole thing at this point is random walk, be super careful, because there's no strong acknowledgement of the trend anymore on the daily, right? If anything, maybe I don't want to delete that now. See, I get so paranoid. I don't want to delete anything because I want to go back and stunt on people and say, look, I told you so. No, I'm kidding. We may be going to this neckline, if you can see where my cursor is, at 81 of the Adam and Eve, but I don't know, I wouldn't touch this personally. It's really good that we're pulling back for inflation, right? And it's funny, I've seen more people talking about the SPR this week than I have them talking about price of oil. True inflation down to 2.47. Let's go. Love it. So it's good on that front. The market doesn't seem to care. But again, is this demand? Is this expectations of a recession? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Honestly, I saw some data point about demand. It looked toppy, right? Again, if we're just using fibs, like that was the target, Adam, Eve. The only reason I talk about examples over and over again is because unless you see this stuff, you're like, yeah, that doesn't work, right? Why would it work? It's just a random number. But here's the chart pattern. That's the level. I don't know why it works, but it does, you know? Anyway. So oil's a hot mess. Hot mess. Just reading chat again. I need like a separate live stream of the feed of chat in my ear. Taking suggestions, consider a Tuesday on open interest. Yeah, BJJ, I'll talk about open interest. I always need ideas to talk about things, because at this point, I feel like I've talked about everything so many times that, you know, I don't know what people want to hear about or care about. Open interest is kind of like volume for me. I just basically think it's mostly fake nonsense. That's why I don't spend too much time on it. But yeah, I can talk about open interest. Glad you liked the fib video. Thank you. Any thoughts on the 20-year bumping higher than the 2-year? I mean, that's the bear steepener, Alex, right? I don't think I have the 20-year on here, do I? It's funny too, because we had to like figure out what does the Fed care about? The 10-year and the 3-month? The forward 3-second and the 25-day? Like, I don't know. I don't know how these people think straight. on all this stuff. This is the 30-year and the 10-year, which at one point somebody said was important, but I don't know. I don't know what this panel is. Let me just take a look. Oh, this is all the, yeah, so you can see the 1 year coming down, the 2 year coming down, and you said the 20-year. Just do that. Is that right? No. Come on, trading view. 20-year. Oh, okay, yeah, I see it. This one here. I mean, we're uninverting, right? This should be recession territory. I think generally we uninvert because there's an expectation that we're going to be cutting soon. And that, again, carries an economic weakness expectation, which is recession, which is why the longer end of the curve stays up. That's my understanding anyway. That isn't necessarily the current situation, though. The current situation is we just have too much supply, not enough demand to buy all this stuff. What was I going to pull up here? The 30? I don't know why it does it every time. It's funny, you can see the massive dislocation when we had the funding problem. Don't have that anymore, but yeah, it doesn't look great. I don't feel great about it, you know? Can crypto hold up? Really, Bitcoin, I could care less about the rest of crypto, but could Bitcoin hold up? Can it hold up during a recession? And if we get a recession, do we get a stimulus, right? Based on inflation, I don't think they're going to, but based on dollar strength, you know, they could stimulate, as opposed to China, which is in trouble. Gold too, again, like, what a brutal chart, just absolute brutality. This doesn't look natural either. It makes sense based on the technicals, but it just looks like death, you know? It doesn't look like it's done to me. It's still not a green daily in the past week plus, right? Just doesn't look good on the gold side. Yeah, that's a good, thank you, Paperclip. I gotta remind myself. I have these random ideas all the time for data stuff, and then I just kind of forget and don't follow through. Brewery versus depression. Yeah, there we go. Alex, I don't swing a lot of dead cats. It's an expression, Alex. Come on. PBOC is selling treasuries. That's another... So there's this guy on Twitter, Tavi Costa. He is a commodity permeable, I guess is the way to put it. I'm not going to say his data is bad or wrong. It's just, you know, he has a position and he's showing data to support that position. But one of the charts that, again, is floating around is this, let's see if I can pull it up, this China holdings chart. So this is China's bond holdings, basically, or treasury holdings. And what the people that pull up this chart don't tell you is that the bonds have lost value. So I don't know if we actually know how much bonds, like how much of this is selling versus how much of this is just like the nominal value going down, you know? It's a fun chart to show people and say, look, the sky is falling, China's selling, right? Are they? I don't know. I'd have to go back and check the, there's this like chart website or like sheet that's built in like 1996 that spits out the treasury data. That's where you'd have to actually look at this. But even there, I don't think that shows you what they actually own. I just think it shows you the notional value. So I don't think that's even good enough, you know? Another thing I've heard people talk about relative to China and oil, China's SPR. China's filling their SPR is what I'm told, right? I don't doubt that, but I don't actually know because they don't release the data. How would we know, right? You kind of have to put the pieces together on the oil data to figure it out. But I haven't seen any definitive data that China's actually doing that. I'm not saying it isn't happening, right? But it's part of the narrative, like USA bad, China good, look at them, Taiwan, kind of fear mongering a little bit. So I would just, anytime you see a data point or a chart like this, always think about like, what is this actually showing you? Because yes, they could be selling, but they could also just be hemorrhaging money, right? This is a multi-decade chart. I guess it's 1 decade back, but so it's probably a little bit of both. So it's not just them selling, but that is another part of the issue with the yields rising because if people are selling. Governments, right? Japan is another one. If Japan is selling, if China's selling, that's going to push yields higher. If we're still issuing debt and no one's buying it, that's going to push yields higher, et cetera, et cetera. Not a good place to be in, but for the moment, we're doing okay. And the question is how long can that last? I tweeted yesterday, and I'm going to use tweet, by the way. I can't not say that. I mean, Elon's an idiot. We're tweeting, folks. We're still tweeting. We're going to be tweeting in 2035 if the banks don't take the keys to the car away and just dissolve Twitter entirely. But I was talking about how Bitcoin has massive strength, right, relative to really everything else. It's kind of weird. Either nobody cares about Bitcoin anymore, like the people that were trading it collectively together with equities or whatever left, or we're actually seeing some store value stuff play out, right? I'll take it. I don't care, but I'll take it. Pulling back a little bit here, the thing I was talking about Sunday was the 28K level. If you're just looking at the daily, there are a ton of moving averages here, right? There's the cloud, that's a pseudo moving average. There's the 200 week moving average. There is the 20 week. This is the 200 day. The 20 week is, where is it at? Here it is. So there is so much confluence for resistance at this level. To me, if we get above that, really all I care about is the cloud, but the fact that there are so many different resistance levels here based on moving averages, to me it would be a big deal that we actually get back above this thing. It looks like we want to, we're trying to. I don't think BTC is lagging, Trill. I think we are just going to the beat of our own drum. We kind of broke down earlier, right, than everything else. Certainly broke down earlier than gold. We had that historic squeeze for weeks and weeks and weeks, remember? And broke down below the cloud. Recovered a bit. There was some ETF stuff, some excitement about BlackRock. We got halving. I don't know. I think we have enough of a narrative to be okay. I don't know why there's a misprint on the index here. That should be a red candle. We're still in the weekly cloud, so you know what? It's good enough for me, right? Now, if we make a new lower low, then we're in trouble. If we break 26, then we're in trouble just on this setup. But we're okay here, and my expectation is if the dollar starts to weaken significantly, that should help us on the BTC side, for sure. As Joey says, maybe we're in honey badger mode, Honey badger don't care. We're just doing our own thing. I don't think there's, massive setups here or trades necessarily. We still could break down, nothing's set in stone here yet, but if we get back above the cloud, bullish TK cross, bullish cloud, right? The same stuff, different day, then that's good enough for me. I don't really care what's going on. The world could be exploding, but if we're bullish on TA, I'll take it. The other thing we were watching, that's Coinbase. We still haven't negated you know, whatever this was, dating back to, you know, year to date. We haven't really canceled that yet. So I don't know. You know, it's kind of just this middle nothing period. If we invert this, I don't even think that helps you. You know, this doesn't look to me bullish or bearish. Maybe you could argue like an inverted head and shoulders, which would be bearish if I invert the scale. But I don't know. It's too early to even think about that. I don't know. We're just kind of waiting, you know, just kind of in wait and see mode. See what happens. BTC pairs of strongest alts in market. We can look at alts for sure. Talk about option trading in one of your videos. I know the word strike price. That's all I know about options trading. Yeah, the issue with options in crypto for me is we haven't had access to them for the most part in the United States. So I have very limited exposure to options myself. Gold getting wrecked, yes. Close to banks taking it all. Yeah, I was looking at, you probably can't see this, but regional banks are doing okay today. Crypto products are kind of flat down. Link down a little bit. I don't know, just kind of a weird period where people are just super unsure on what's going on, I think, generally. Why is the debt increasing by billions a day? That's a great question, isn't it? Like somebody said, you know, we increased the debt by billions of Bitcoin based on market cap like yesterday or something. That's how you know we're early. I'd agree. I mean, look, you can be like the MMT people where they're like, we're just going to print our way out of it. And that's still a win for us, right? That's maybe preferred because we devalue the currency. I'm not saying that that's what we want, but if that's how they're going to play this game and just print money, then yeah, that should help us, right? On the Bitcoin side of things. The money supply has contracted significantly, and we've lived through that. We know what happens when that happens. We've lived through 2021. We know what happens when they stimulate, when they print a bunch of money. So from a price perspective, if you want price to go up, we want money printing. So I think that's the inevitability of where we're headed, regardless. We just can't seem to stop spending, you know? Just reading. People are stretching my knowledge of macro. Speaking of China, when you get to tickers, can you take a look at PDD? Bought in the 70s, sold at 104. Sure. Yeah, exactly, Joey. I mean, we're not going to default. We're never going to default. We'll just print more money. But that's a win for us on the Bitcoin side of things. Correct, Chris. This is just a default. Pitchfork on TradingView on the left side. You'll see the pitchfork button. I never really play around with the other ones. I should probably learn what they are, but I just don't bother. You know, this is good enough for me. And then from there, you can go in, add the levels if you want, turn off the background entirely, whatever you want to do, whatever's easiest for you visually. But that's another reason 28 is pretty important. At this point, it's higher on the pitchfork, but if we're above the median line on the pitchfork, then we get to play in the bullish half of the bullish pitchfork. And that's the path to 42 at that point. So I do like 28 as a very important level to watch. Really the rest of the quarter, you know. I guess you could argue, let me find a chart I can mess with. You know, if you want to look for bearish arguments, some old annotations. If you want to look for bearish arguments, we could go to like a low time frame and say, you know, this isn't a great argument, but you could say this is some sort of rising wedge that's going to break 28 and then break down, you know. I don't know if I'm quite in that camp yet, but I can see people talking about that. This is just, it's so ugly, you know. It's hard to know what exactly is going on low time frames. I don't see anything screaming super bearish. If you want to like tilt your head sideways, maybe we've got this going on. You know, we had a similar like, you know, none of this is tradable, right? This is just complete chop nonsense, but you know, something to watch for, I guess. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm focused on the high time frames in the moment because I know this is just all over the place. Complete dumpster fire of price action right now. Another thing to watch for would be, you know, again, this level. We really don't want to be down here if you're bullish. If you're bearish, you want this. You want to be back below 25. But bullish is, you know, 28, right? So, and again, as I was talking about the inverted chart, we really don't want this, okay? We really, really, really don't want that if you're bullish, because that could easily play out. So not only do we need to fade 28 as resistance, we need to break 30. You know, we need to make higher high. That's kind of a no-brainer, I think, but if we're just measuring this, this would also bring us back to the, probably can't see that, the 18 to 20 range if we measure the head and shoulders. So get ready for that, because people will start to talk about that if we get to 28 and like don't break it and, you know, it looks like we're making a right shoulder. I can definitely see that playing out, unfortunately. Something to watch for. Yeah, tons of noise. You're right, Yada. I am a Cloud Maxi and Pitchfork Maxi. You know, the reason I use the pitchforks is because the Cloud doesn't always tell you where price could go, and it doesn't always tell you like how bullish or bearish we are necessarily. So I do like something to like give projections, you know. If I can find the, where's the channel thing? This is something else. I can't remember, was it this? It's like this. I think it was something like this, right? Where there's like, we're in some sort of channel, diagonal channel, which is basically, you know, this is a pitchfork. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with ourselves here, okay? Some sort of channel. You know, you could argue we are at the bottom of this channel. That's justification for going up as well. I don't know if that's enough for me, but something to watch, I guess, you know. Don't hate it. I think it's actually easier to see on GBTC. I could be wrong here. This chart, by the way, looks pretty good. Is it like this? I don't know. I don't know how people were drawing this. I think it's something like that. Something like this, right? I don't know. I don't hate it. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Look, I don't hate it. We haven't made lower lows. We're making higher highs. The world's crumbling around us. We are surviving. Something else that catches my eye on GBTC is, you know, you probably know what I'm going to say, but I don't hate that either. I'll take it, right? If GBTC breaks out on some ETF news or whatever, that's good for us. I'll take it. I will take it. I will definitely take it. And this chart looks way better than Spot does. This looks, it is getting closer to Navverse. This looks like it should break out to me. It's up today a little bit. with Bitcoin being down. So it's gained, what, 1.8% probably on the discount. That's good. That's what we need to see. We need to see this close, and we need to see people actually care about buying spot again, right? Because if there's this product that's accessible and basically the same thing and has a massive discount where you have momentum on your side, discount's clearly closing, why buy spot? Just buy this, right? But this chart looks really good to me. Really, really good. Cloud looks good. Patterns on your side. Wonder what is there a weekly cloud? See, look at this. Nobody's talking about this. You're not gonna get this anywhere else, folks. The weekly GBTC cloud. Look at that. That looks great. That looks amazing. So GBTC, the target. I mean, let's be honest. The target is the discount closing completely, but 31, 32, whatever that is. Sure, 30. Looks good. One thing I said on one of the videos, because there's kind of two flat Kumo cloud things here now, like we could do that throughout like pre-halving, right? We could go to some level pre-halving and then pull back. Wouldn't that be fun? That would be super fun. What does BITO look different than GBTC? Well, BITO is futures. GBTC is a trust. It is, in a sense, physical Bitcoin. They also have different fees. So Grayscale has considerably high fees. It's like criminal. It's 2%, I think, annually. So that will play a part in it. And it's not an opened product. So there isn't two-way flows here on money coming in and out. It's a roach motel, which just means the money cannot leave, the Bitcoin cannot leave, and the discount can't be closed other than people, externally closing it with what you're seeing now, this trading activity, right? It has to outperform spot in order for that discount to close. You can see, I don't know how long you've been in crypto, but a lot of this free 2021 premium was people just dumping money into this instead of buying spot, right? That closed. It wasn't both ways. It got out of control. There was this trade where you could buy GBTC and then close that gap, basically get the ARB, get the difference. So people were, capturing the premium, and this is how BlockFi got into trouble. They were doing this trade assuming it was going to last forever, right? Which is typically where people get into trouble. And the premium collapsed and became a discount. So all of a sudden, you're kind of upside down on that trade, right? There's nothing to ARB anymore. So you're in trouble. If you go to the block, I just pull it up, I'm trying to find. Yeah, so if you go to the block, under structured products on the data section, they have a picture of the flows out of GBTC. And these are all the fees that Grayscale gets. So every week they're taking out, what is this, like 200 Bitcoin at least of GBTC, which is bananas. These are the revenue. This is one of the reasons why they don't want to close this, by the way, because obviously it's a massive cash cow. It is insane, the fees that they're still collecting on this stuff, right? 50 million a month, 60 million a month. That's just on GBTC and ETH. They have other products too, but insane, right? So you can see where they closed it in early 2021. That's basically when the premium became a discount, and the rest is history. but that's why it's different. So the good news is it's closing. It's closing because there's some hope that it's going to convert. But I think the bad news for the spot side of the market is if you're smart, you're probably buying this. You're probably not buying spot. Okay, let's just be honest. You know, it's not Satoshi's Bitcoin, but it's a decent bet at that thing closing, especially with Grayscale winning that case against the SEC. The SEC can appeal that on the 13th, and that's the deadline, or up until the 13th. So, you know, you may see a bump in this closing after that as well if the SEC just kind of says okay, right? If we look at the ETH chart, let me find the panel. See, now I messed everything up. Dixie is there. I have no idea what that is. ETH's down here, okay. If we take a look at ETH, you know, this, again, this versus spot, why trade spot? You've got a 30%, let's say 29% discount. You've got a structure that looks bullish to me. Again, like maybe it's not, I don't know, is it a head and shoulders inverted? Maybe it is. It's a mess. It's not pretty, but it's certainly not bullish or bearish, sorry. This looks great, you know, to me. So maybe ETH the spot doesn't do anything, right, until this closes, which would make sense to me. Weekly cloud for ETH pointing to 26. That's a massive, that's a 2x plus trade right there. And they did apply for some SEC something to try to turn this into an ETF as well. Just reading chat. Yeah, so that's kind of a problem for us that this discount is still here, because one thing you can do, just like people were arbing the premium, people can arb the discount by what, being short spot and long ETH, right? That certainly is happening on Bitcoin. These products are big enough that people are paying attention for sure. You know, they've been in the news. People know that they exist. But anyway, that is those two products, which unfortunately are probably the better trade than spot right now. Let's just look at S&P real quick. Bearish chop below the cloud, broke down. You know, we talked about this early in the week a couple times at this point. And this is kind of like what we don't want Bitcoin to do, right? Where it made an inverted head and shoulders earlier in the year, and now it made a head and shoulders at the top of the range, top of the trend. So we really need to break 28. Really need to break 28 on spot. I still think this is a massive avoid. I do not think this is something to touch personally. Trend is not on your side. NASDAQ. What did I do here? It's actually QQQ. I don't know why I don't look at SPY instead, but the QQQ is just a NASDAQ ETF. But anyway, also middling garbage, right? There's no trade here. I think the trade is short-term treasury still. Maybe you start to go out on the curve a little bit. 2 year, 1 year. If you think the yields are coming down on the short end or stagnant on the short end or whatever, but this does not look bullish to me either. So again, on the crypto side, we kind of have to fade like the whole world collapsing. We kind of have to hope that DXY coming back down is bullish for us. Anyway, I still think this comes down. It's got to, right? It's absolutely got to. It cannot stay irrational that much longer. All right, so that was Bitcoin. That was ETH. you know, spot ETH is just, if you think spot Bitcoin is a mess, I mean, what is this? What is this? What actually is this? It is super frustrating. I don't really care because I don't own that much of it. I bought a little bit at like 1906. I was short for a little while. I've got out of that short before the ETF thing. I have no position on at the moment. I probably want to re-short. Let me just pull up a chart. Probably want to re-short based on, I mean, that's a good reason right there too. If we are the most generous on the ascending triangle, it looked like it saved itself, but now it looks like hot garbage. So, you know, if you think there's additional downside here, which I don't hate, just look at what happened after that ETF stuff. I'm trying to find alligator fractal. This is like, this is the system I use to decide what to do like in the middle of a trend if I'm not sure. The alligator is just 3 moving averages, and then the fractals are based on high, low, high, or low, high, low, and they give you support fractals and resistance fractals. You gotta adjust the colors though, at least I do. And if we're busting below support fractals in a bear trend, that is a short entry signal. If we're busting above resistance fractals in a bull trend, that's a long entry signal. Pretty straightforward. So a short entry would be all the way down here at 1565 at the moment, and this could print another fractal before it goes lower. It's not quite bearish yet on the moving averages. So I don't really think there's anything to do here specifically. It's just, it's a mess, man. It's such a mess. And I just think you're better off not touching this right now, personally, right? Contrast this with the ETH chart, right? Like, this might be a mess too, but at least I can see a setup here. You know, I can see that if we're above 12, that's a breakout, right? This doesn't lean bearish in any sense. So again, we may need for those discounts to fully close to actually get some positive stuff going on the spot side, because man, it is just so untradeable. Just completely not even worth paying attention to. What else we got here? The stable coins, again, not much going on there, just kind of flattened down. I wouldn't expect alts to broadly be bullish. This is the altcoin market cap. You know, not much going on there. Gun to my head, do we see 500 ETH again? I think 1,000 retest is decently probable. I think 500, there would have to be something wrong with, I talked about this in the video yesterday, there'd have to be something wrong with staking, I think, to go that low. So if there's issues with Lido, if people panic exit out of the validators, right? Something, there has to be a market event, I think, for that price to actually happen. Or there's just like a massive recession or something, you know? Or they call ETH a security, something like that. This is the validator queue to watch. It's currently showing there aren't that many people looking to throw ETH into validators at the moment. So it's basically come all the way down. Early on there was a wait, now there's not a wait. So the thing to watch here is if the staking yield starts to rise and people still are like panic exiting, right? We're not even close to that currently, but if I'm trying to imagine how ETH gets to 500, maybe that's how we get there, right? Anyway, I don't think the market cares right now. Honestly, what happens with ETH? especially after that ETF performance. Another thing, by the way, I don't see a lot of people talking about ETH BTC, but people like to give me crap for dunking on it every chance I get. This does not look bullish either. It's almost below the weekly cloud for the first time since, like, what, April? Pre-April? We'll say May 2020? June 2020? This is not a bullish picture for ETH BTC. And it just drip, 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 drip. You know, it's not bullish, certainly. Volume is in the tubes. Does not look good for ETH BTC. So if this continues, the logical target would be 0.5 at a minimum. You know, that's the local low here. Joey's on my side. Joey says he hopes ETH dies. You know, it's not so much ETH the coin, it's ETH the people, right? The people are just kind of annoying to me. I know Bitcoin maxis are annoying, but the ETH people are just kind of unbearable sometimes. All right, so that's ETH BTC. What do we want to look at alt-wise? Does anybody have anything they want me to pull up? I like to look at Kraken for the volume thing. Stablecoin volume still at the top. We got Sol here. Let me fix all this first. Hold on, sorry guys. All right, Sol looks okay-ish, you know? I was saying on the video yesterday that maybe we've got a inverted head and shoulders situation here. Don't hate it. You know, I don't hate certain high cap alts breaking out just because people are bored. That's what it certainly feels like. Pratik, thank you, bro. I'll get to your question in a second. Yeah, Sol, I don't hate this breaking out. I know a lot of people are looking at it and talking about it. It wouldn't be the worst thing to have some alt activity, especially with ETH just kind of doing nothing, right? People are looking for something to do, and if they want to throw it into Sol, that would certainly make sense to me. It's one of the higher caps. You know, it's centralized. I don't like the chain, but I get it. Okay, it's not Ripple where it has no reason to exist. Speaking of chain, Link still in the middle of nothing, right? Kind of no man's land. Not much going on there. Maybe this is an Adam and Eve. Maybe it's just a W. Another possibility would be, you know, imagine this thing just for another 6 months. You get this, right? You get higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and then it breaks out. That would be an ascending triangle at that point. But, you know, if we don't break out, that's something to watch for. The alternative, if it bounces around down here, whatever, right? It's still in the range. It doesn't matter. It's just, nothing's like screaming at me like, hey, there's a trade here. Now I suspect once we get above 28 on Bitcoin and or the discounts on those Grayscale products close, which is going to be a while, then we'll probably see stuff like this moving. You know, one other thing to check, by the way, does Grayscale have a link trust? This is CoinGlass. CoinGlass has a list of it. I mean, you can go to the Grayscale website, of course, but they do have a link trust. The link trust has a 164% premium. Oh, baby. So this happens when there's like a lockup. What a mess. What a mess. So I don't, you know, this isn't really big enough to like have an impact, I don't think, on the spot market. But I can see a world where, now I hope you're sitting down because I'm going to say something perhaps controversial, but I can see a world where Link pops off on the spot side and they decide to push this thing into a full-blown ETF. Probably not super soon. We're probably talking at least 6 months to a year away, but I could see them doing that for sure. If, again, this is like if, right? If they convert the BTC trust and the ETH trust, like their goal is to take over the world and, you know, make everything an ETF. So I could see them doing single asset ETFs for Link, for Sol. Some of this other stuff, I don't think so. But I could see that's their next thing on that. Like they have a pretty clear path to me on what they want to do. These are the single asset trusts. If we go to the GDLC, which is the multi-asset, let me just pull it up. They redid their website. Look at that. It's a complete blank white square. Oh, there we go. It's funny, they already have an ETF button on their website, guys. So if we go, they call it diversified. So this GDLC product, which is mostly Bitcoin and ETH, if I can find the holdings. Right, it's like, what's the point? Like, you're not fooling anybody here, guys. I don't understand why anybody would invest in this personally. It's 72%, 71% Bitcoin and 26% ETH with ADA Solomatic. But with the single asset ETF conversions, I could see them trying to convert this and then converting each of these components into a single asset trust. I could see them trying that, but you have to dodge the SEC calling any one of these a security, which I believe they've called Matic Sol and ADA a security. Yeah, here we go. CoinGecko has this list of alleged SEC securities. So you'd have to clear that up a little bit. I don't think, have they called Link a security? I don't think so. Again, I'm just trying to think, like, you know, what are they going to do here, right? They're probably not going to turn this into a single asset trust successfully, Solana, for example, if it's a security in the eyes of the SEC, at least in the current administration. Anyway, it's a bit of a tangent, but something to look forward to a year from now, right? What's up, Dave? You're welcome. Something to look forward to a year from now when people are sort of looking for a narrative or something. You know, part of this is just understanding what could happen here, I think. So if Grayscale is actually successful at converting this stuff, I could see them, you know, making each of these a single asset ETF. Why not, right? There are companies in Europe that do this as well. The one thing I really want is a staking ETF or a staking basket that, again, these exist overseas where they take like 5 staking coins, do some like market cap weighted allocation, and you get the yield from that. I mean, that's a pretty cool deal, right? There are fees involved, obviously, but anyway. All right, Pratik. Do you have any general thoughts on the commodity super cycle? Sure, short run Dixie is throttling. What are the stages is it at latently within the longer term? I mean, max pain is dollar going to new highs, right? I think that's max pain personally. On trend, dollar could easily, like we talked about in the opener, retrace to 103, keep going, right? This looks completely blown out from a bullish perspective. It looks completely overbought. You know, if we look back to 2022, I don't think it ever got this overbought until the very end. I'm just looking at the distance between the Tenkin and the Kijun lines there. I don't think it actually got this overbought the entire run. So this could easily pull back and easily keep going. That would be like into 2024 or whatever. So I don't know how that relates to commodities necessarily, but there's this guy on Twitter, Bar Chart. He's a great follow because I'm sure they're selling some website. I'm not going to promote that necessarily, but what this guy does is he points out. Let me just go through. He points out the commodities. Okay, Philippine rice inflation. Okay, like this account. I don't know if it's a guy or girl, whatever. They tend to point out the commodity stuff that's going on right now. I just saw he did one on sugar. It's funny. He did one on sugar. I think sugar is at an all-time high. Orange juice is at an all-time high. And you could argue like hard assets go higher, but I don't know. No, now I'm totally whiffing, not finding a single one. Anyway, he's a really good account for that because here it is, orange juice, all-time high. I don't even drink orange juice, so I feel sorry for those who do. But he likes to point this stuff out. So I guess that's all just to say I'm not really sure personally. Let me find a chart where I can do stuff on, sorry. I know a lot of people are looking at uranium. I like uranium as like a long-term bet because I think that's our only way out of this energy scarcity problem is nuclear. This uranium chart started to break out. It didn't quite make it. I guess my concern with the commodity stuff is I don't know if this is supply driven or demand driven, and that's to say like is all this stuff selling off because people assume demand's going to come down? I don't know. I don't know how that works. Or do they assume China's struggling, they're a big portion of this demand for everything generally, and that's going to bring prices down? I'm not really sure. Commodities tend to mean revert a lot as well. So I think it'd be hard to get a super cycle necessarily, but if we start printing a bunch of money to get out of debt or whatever, then sure, yeah, all the commodities could just go to infinity effectively, right? So that's not a great answer, but it was weird to me that the dollar was bullish with oil. Oil's still selling off. It was weird to me that was happening at the same time. But yeah, I don't really know what the deal is with commodities because I know wheat was at like a 52-week low or something. So I don't have a great answer for that. There is a, what's the wheat, or not wheat, there's a commodity index. The problem with these commodity indices is that they are mostly oil. So you kind of have to, I think you'd have to like strip oil out of that. GSCI. I talked about these the other day too in one of the videos, I think, right? If you're wondering like, okay, I'm a commodity bull, what do I do? Well, you can buy one of these indices, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, look at this thing, right? Range high, range low, smack dab in the middle. But you can see the oil chart on this, right? You can see oil going to zero in March 2020. You can see oil falling off a cliff in 14, oil falling off a cliff in 08. So I think it depends on which commodities you're focused on, but anyway. So I don't have a great answer for you on that because it depends on what you're trading, I guess, right? I don't know. Catching up on chat. Chop Central, yes. Is the uranium chart correlated to oil? I don't think so, Joey. Yeah, I don't think they're correlated. All right, guys, what do you want me to look at? Shout out some tickers. I know somebody said Zcash. I'm just going to assume anybody asking me for stuff like this is just super underwater. Sorry. just the most underwater a person could be. Wow. Did it really go? No, that can't be right. Zcash didn't sell to zero and Poloniex did it? We would have heard about that. I think that's an error. I'm gonna assume, I hope that's an error. The question for alts right now is, does anything look bad enough to buy? You know? And if we actually have a recession, do you think that that coin is recession proof? Spoiler alert, probably not. ZQSD, we are seeing a lot of this across the board, Adam and Eve type structure, VU double bottom type structure. Upside is not a lot, admittedly, right? But it's something. You know, if we go to another chart that I wouldn't touch, you know, we can see it there as well. I think I said yesterday that there was a weak bull div on here. You're getting, excuse me, sorry, you're getting lower lows in price based on the line chart. Lower lows, less momentum. That's a bull div. So this type of thing can morph into an inverted head and shoulders as well, right? You can do this. I don't think it's enough to like reverse the trend. Is it tradable? I guess it depends on, you know, what you want to do, but let me go to the other charts we were looking at yesterday. Yeah, community members, shout out your symbols. Oh man, I laugh. It's for some of you it's not funny, but you know, what am I gonna do, right? For Cardano, that's not the right chart. Yeah, so like I was saying in the high time frames, this may turn into a trend reversal trade. I just don't know why it would. Again, like if you're worried about the economy, if you're worried about consumer spending, disposable income, how do alts do anything without anybody buying them, you know? That's my concern here. So this is a massive wait and see for me. I wouldn't touch this here. If you're 90% underwater, what do you do? I mean, that's up to you, right? But this is just an example. There are a lot of versions of that fractal on the charts, right? That I'm seeing anyway. Uranium could be a Wyckoff top. It could be. Adam, I do have a tutorial for TradingView. It's like the first video I did on the Trading Tip Tuesday series. Haircut. I didn't get a haircut. Chewy. I took a shower. I mean, maybe that's what you're seeing. Oh man. Oh man. Some of these charts just take your breath away, you know? You know what's funny about this is if we do this, where is it at? I took it off. I mean, you get to the point where you look at so many charts every day in your rotation that when you find a new one, at least me, I immediately recognize what it reminds me of. So Chewy is on the right. TLT, the long bond ETF, is on the left. This chart looks like TLT to me. just super ugly, very bearish. I don't know if it'll keep going, but anyway, that's TLT. This chart looks atrocious. Some of these businesses, you got to wonder, like, how long can they last, you know, before bankruptcy, right? If we like zoom in, here's the other, you know, relative value thought. If we've got businesses that look like this, do you really think alts are going to pop off here? Just a thought. Man, that's ugly. I don't know. I don't even think, I mean, maybe there's a weak bullish divergence on like the 4 hour. There's a TKC clamp there. That is quite awful, but you know, watch TLT. If TLT turns around, maybe Chewy turns around too. What a crazy correlation that is. But what I was saying on TLT was clearly a parabolic downside, right? So what you want to watch for is a break of that, breach of you know, if we just go like, ooh, it's crazy to see this puke on something like this, but we see this all the time in altcoins, you know. Anyway, this does not look bullish. It does not look safe. It looks atrocious. It's mega oversold. But I would watch for any higher high there. That's just so ugly. And you know this is gonna like mega bounce when it does, but the problem is like timing that, I think, is gonna be super difficult. Like over here, I would want to see some sort of bottoming pattern, and it's not even close to that. You know, this thing had head and shoulders after head and shoulders after head and shoulders. It's got a head and shoulders here, right? You can just see it. You can see like a failed inverted head and shoulders attempt there. Anyway, it looks ugly. So, you know, maybe Chewy turns around when TLT turns around. Yeah, Joe, you're right. That's the other thing. The sentiment on TLT was and continues to be super bullish. I don't know what the sentiment on Chewy is at the moment, but I know it was super bullish. And, you know, you kind of have to fade that bullishness most of the time. Or understand that generally most people are wrong. And if collectively, if a group is super bullish on something, it probably goes the opposite direction. Just reading chat again, sorry. What else do we want to see? Somebody said something. Oh, PDD. What is? I don't even know. What in the? What? I like this. It's fun. You know, looking at random charts you don't really know anything about. Well, PDD. Trend looks bullish. You could argue cup and handle. I don't hate that. You can see it had a kind of a head and shoulders breakdown here that it survived, which is good. What else we got here? Doesn't look bad, honestly. You know, 137 to 161 would be the measured move to there. I don't hate it. Joey agrees. Joey says it looks good. See? But all you really need to do is look at the cloud, because then, you know, the cloud's my crutch. Just tells me where the trend is at. Yeah, exactly. Everyone is like, oh, you got to go to the long end of the curve. You don't have the bottom ticket, but, you know, it's a good idea to start rotating. Yeah, we'll see how that works out for you. I mean, hey, look, maybe yields collapse and they make mega bank on TLT. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. Perfect timing, Keith. Any truth to Link leaving exchanges? Is Foundation still dumping? All right, I will answer this in two parts. So the first question is yes, there is some truth. I'm trying to pull up the Twitter. It's called Look on Chain, I believe. Look at that. It was like already ready already. So this is from September 18th. I don't know what it's looked like recently. I don't even know which data site would have this information. As far as Link sitting on exchanges, for example. But anyway, that is true, yes. The Foundation selling question. So previously, it was super easy to track the Foundation wallets, really because CoinGecko's that amazing. If you hover over any circulating supply on CoinGecko, they usually have the wallets. And a few years ago, the wallets weren't as partitioned as they were now. So you could still sleuth it out. It's going to be more difficult because some of this I think is like staking rewards or some nonsense. So I don't know if the Foundation is still selling. I don't think so because we probably would have heard about it by now. But I used to track all that and it's just gotten difficult to do. Let me see if I can pull up for people who don't know. This was like my whole thing was crapping on Link historically. I don't know if you can see that because my head's probably in the way. Hold on. For those who don't know, it's just good to know, right? I don't care if you're bullish or bearish, but historically, the x-axis here is 2020, 2021, and then it kind of stopped in late 2021 entirely. But at the very top of the Link market previously, the all-time high, the company was selling. And everyone was like, oh, this is bullish selling, right? They need this money. They need 50 million a month or whatever. And I was like, I don't know about that. Anyway, so I don't know if this circulating, I'm sure it doesn't match. What does CoinGecko say? 556. So something, they either sold or they released staking rewards. Anyway, I'm not sure. I'd have to dig into that a little deeper. So I don't know. I doubt they would be selling a lot. You know, they're probably not selling what they were selling at the peak when the Marines hated me for bringing it up. But I'd have to look at that again. I don't know what else we want to look at. Everything else is just so like, you know, you just kind of gotta wait it out, right? Euro, I'd said that Euro is basically the Bitcoin chart, right? The Euro chart is Bitcoin, it's gold. That's why I was pleasantly surprised we didn't break down, continue to break down. Euro maybe is turning a corner with DXY weakness here. We'll see. Like DXY should mean revert, Euro should mean revert, and Bitcoin should go higher. That's what I expect for next week. So we'll see if that happens. But you know, you can see the DXY chart. You can see the gold chart in that. If you want to actually trade gold on Kraken, I've talked about this before, but you know, half the battle is knowing what to trade, and then the other half is like, how do I actually execute that? Why am I blanking on how to find this? There it is, PAX G. Inverted cup and handle. Anyway, half the battle is like figuring out how the hell do I actually like trade this, right? One way to do that with crypto on Kraken is PAX G USD. It's a gold stablecoin. So look, it's not perfect, but you know, it's one way to do it, I guess. I've looked at the correlation to spot markets. Like it usually holds up pretty well against the spot market. So it follows the spot market, right? There's going to be some dislocation here, but yeah, Joe, I can check. Let me just check real quick. I don't think they have the link data though. I don't know who would have that. That's the only problem. I don't know if they have a link on here. Just taking a look. No, I don't think they do. Oh, maybe? Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, so it's not super pretty. Probably can't see that because my head's in the way. Let's see, the blue line is the exchange balance. It's kind of been all over the place. It you know hasn't really done too much. It's been up and down by the looks of it. It's at a low, I guess. There's still 100 million something on exchanges, so anywho, sure, let's look at INJ. INJ for GOSP. Still the same sad little chart. What do I care about here? Well, there's clearly a level 2.6. There was some like activity from 2.5 to 4. Maybe this is an ascending triangle. I don't know. I don't have a like clean read on that. What does the cloud say? Cloud says kind of the middle of the road. Definitely not super bullish. If it gets above 8.4, Claude likes it. Doesn't look terrible, but it needs some volume to be certain. TWT. I do not know what that one is. Let's try to find it. TWT. Yeah. I mean, this thing. This thing is kind of a mess. Reminds me of Dash. Dash had this like 4-year ascending triangle that it finally broke out of a long time ago. So when I look at this, you can call me crazy. When I look at that, right, I say to myself, there's a bunch of Adam and Eves in here, right? There's even a little one right here that's kind of hard to see. Probably can't see that on the stream. There's a lot of bottoming fractals in here, which is a good sign for an actual reversal, right? So I don't hate it. No clue what it is. On trend, it looks decent. You know, this is a cloud breakout. This is the time when I touch this thing. Definitely. First breakout since November 2022. GOSP, bring in the alpha to the stream today. Yeah, I don't know what it is. No clue. the level to watch would be the previous breakout, the horizontal, like, you know, $1.20, something like that. Yeah, $1.20. I like $1.20. Trust the wallet. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you're just trading the technicals, it does look pretty good. I'll give you that. It does look pretty good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on Kraken that looked like anything. I don't think so. What does Tezos look like these days? Still grinding lower. Man, remember Tezos? Oh, somebody asked me about Tron. Yeah, I mean, look, the chart looks bullish. I can't deny it. Unfortunately, I just don't trust the chain. I think the chain could rug you at any moment. So that's just me, right? But if you're not concerned about that, you know, it looks good. It does look good. Is it possible to add a link in circulation to this chart? Maybe? I'd have to look. Let's see if they have that. Metric. Circ. Yes. I don't know if that helps you though. I don't know. I don't know if that helps, but it's gone up a little bit. Some of that's probably going to an exchange, so that could be smart contract limited, whatever it is, selling. I don't know. Tron the Chain did. Yeah, Tron does a lot of. Tron does a lot of volume. Can't deny that. I just look. It's just not for me. You know, that's all I'm saying. What else? Anything else, guys? There's just not much going on. You know. DeFi. Anything? Serum looks like it's up a bunch. Pax G. There's just not much going on. It's kind of a wait and see. Unless anybody's got anything else. We did what? We did an hour. Did a good solid hour and a half here. I think the bottom line is we just gotta wait for this thing to chill to flip out, you know? The dollar's just too strong. Yields are too high. Oh, I said I was gonna look at that bank. Blue Ridge Bank shares, baby. Very, very little noise on this on Twitter. Friday's coming up. If you know anything about bank collapses, that's usually when the FDIC steps in and they like to close it down for the weekend, right, and transfer it or whatever. So we may see some announcement from the FDIC, or we may see a merger announcement. Maybe it's fine. I don't know. I don't expect them to be fine with a chart that looks like this. But, you know, again, that looks like a shitcoin, right? Regional Bank Index is also not too happy. None of this stuff looks great, you know? Let's go to the small caps. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good for the small caps. This kind of looks like Link, doesn't it? This had a low time frame, head and shoulders, right? That clearly broke down along with gold, along with the euro, right? All that stuff. Haven't done Maker. Let's take a look at that. I did talk about yield spreads. It is uninverting. That is a very bearish situation. If this does continue to uninvert, we'll see. We'll look. Look. Employment numbers, unemployment numbers are tomorrow. If those spike, market's gonna have a absolute shit fit on that. Maker. Maker looks decent. It's looked decent. It's doing great. One thing to think about for Maker is if it's been bullish because of rates rising, and if rates come down, does that mean it's bearish? Is this a leveraged bond fund or something, basically? Or is it something else? I don't know. But, that's just something to think about. This doesn't look horrible, right? It looks super strong. It has been strong. It bounced at the Kijun. It actually had a trend that it broke out of. I think at this point, for me, it's too late to step in here. If anything, based on fibs, it looks like it's hit a level that I would let go of Maker here, but I guess that depends on depends on your position, right, on this, I think, fundamentally, because it's done really well. It's definitely done really well. And whatever your opinion is on Maker going to Solana or whatever, right? I don't know. That's up to you, but just technicals, it looks okay. Maker, okay, we talked about yield spreads. Yeah, so it's definitely uninverting, not good. Secondaries, where is the secondaries marketplace for 30-year treasuries? Do you mean who's like the marginal buyer for 30-year? Certainly not Japan or China at the moment, right? Or the Saudis. Isn't it banks? Banks and the Fed, baby. Doge, Elon, come on, man. I don't know if I want to bring that chart up. You know what? It's slow. Sure. Why not? Just do me a favor and just don't trade this, right? What are we doing? What are we doing, folks? What are we doing? We stray further from Satoshi each day. It looks like a descending triangle, right? That typically results in tears because it wants to go lower. So this does not look bullish to me. Sorry. Some random guy named Joe wants to know my GPS location. I'm gonna pass on that, Joe. I'm not in Michigan currently, but I am from Michigan. How to chart spot buying versus perp. How to chart spot buying versus perp. Well, you can either pull that up. I think CoinGlass has that, right? Looking at the top here. Don't they have something here? Is it an open interest? I don't think so. I mean, the easiest way I can think to do it would be to pull up the two pairs. So what's the purest USD market? Maybe Kraken or Coinbase? And then we go, what's a perp market? What's the biggest perp market? I don't even know anymore. Is it still Binance? Anyway, you could pull them both up and then look at the volume, or put them on the same chart. Excuse me. You can put them on the same chart too and see if, we could do this where we go Bitcoin futures, December, sure. You could see if one is leading the other. Based on futures, there's some, forwardation in that usually there's a premium here. Not something I typically look at, honestly. Another way you could do this is do what? Spot minus you could do that. And if what do? We get rid of this. I think you have to do it as a percentage. I don't know. I'm floundering here. I can't remember how I do this. The only thing I can remember is if you pull up, is it this chart I have it on? No. Basically, if you do Coinbase minus Bitfinex, you'll find the Tether versus spot premium. I don't know where the hell I put that. Here's some sort of futures premium. What is this? Here's the CME premium. So there are ways to do it with like subtracting the price and looking at premium over time. I know some people look at like CVD or something. I generally don't pay too much to that. Anyway, I think that's all we got today, guys. Thank you. If you want to see anything, just let me know in the comments. If you're not here, that's okay. We miss you. I'm going to talk about open interest next week. If you want to see me talk about anything else, let me know. And hopefully we can find some life on the Bitcoin side of things above 28. That's pretty much it. That's all I'm really watching, I think we'll end her there. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Have a good weekend.